Okie dokie. We're going to do this. We're going to do this now. Okay. And so, here we are. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good morning. To everybody tuning into my, it's not a podcast, conversation. I am Icubian Organis, and I'm going to deal with an issue. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the issue I've got the notes for and the book for. It's to do with this prolonged saga concerning coronavirus, COVID-19, and in particular, I think we're going to focus on the 5G aspect of issues and my African American brothers. Okay. There are some videos that some conversations I need to have with and I'm going to make enemies, and people ain't going to like me, and people are going to beat me up for whatever, etc. Because the truth is, it's not color-coded. It does. Nobody owns it. It just exists, and it's for the intrepid to go and find out what it is and get some kahunas and say if they want to speak about it. Anyway, in short, today is the 8th for the 9th, I'm not sure, I haven't got my mobile phone, I've left it inside, I've left my tablet inside, whatever. I've just finished more or less listening to a presentation by Brother Polight. Now, Polight has been a bit of a sensation in the African American community with regard to enlightenment, consciousness, understanding truth. He's garnered himself a reputation, and he's done some things and been seen and done a lot of things. He's infamous, in other words. But I will not take away the fact that he's an intelligent brother. I always think it's a shame when an intelligent man chooses to do things that compromise the morality of a man. It is what it is. I'm not going to take shots at the brother. But there are people out there say he's a scammer, he's taking people's money, whatever. Anyway, I was listening to Saanetter TV, and there was a discussion yesterday. If today's the 9th, it doesn't really matter. When I say the 9th, we're in April. There was a discussion, and it was a cross panel that Saanetter hosted. On the panel, if I'm not mistaken, was a guy named Garfield, Brother Divine something, Jabari, Brother Ankh, or Ankh, and Polight was there. Prior to the conversation, Jabari was on. And Jabari is basically, from my understanding, parroting the government line. He knows people's died from COVID-19, coronavirus. He was sick, right? And whatever. I think you know how I feel about that. But he was sick from the disease, but, recovered. I can't say if it's true or not. But he put out his argument, and his argument was this concept that 5G, which is a false concept. Nobody that I know, and anything I've read, that says 5G causes coronavirus. But the mainstream media, and tonight, red lights flashing and all that, dancing girls come out, And you have anybody who questions it, they come up with this false narrative, straw man argument. Well, the conspiracy theorists are saying 5G causes coronavirus. It's absolutely. I don't know anybody who said it. I don't know anybody who's actually said 5G causes. So Polight comes on and Polight makes, look, whether he is or not, a clock can tell the time correctly every 24 hours. Some will say, well, every 12 hours. But whatever. Don't care. So Polight on the panel, which was, say, I think it was the day before yesterday. They're all on it. Jabari's made his government spiel. Oh, people are actually dying. I've seen them. I know them. I nearly, well, they stopped short of saying they actually had it because they ain't been tested. But I was down and I was feeling bad. Whatever. He's here now. And you got to think to yourself. And I have a suspicion. I'm not going to do anything and say anything and commit myself to anything right now. But I wish some people would shut the fuck up. Right? Because they really think we're stupid. And the African American contingent of the so-called conscious community, I'm not part of it. I got nothing to do with the English part, none of it. None of it. No, they're like a window, I can see through them, you know what I mean? But this is why I'm doing this short video, which I think was interesting. So Polight's made his point. I don't care what you think about him. I'm not a fan. I understand what the arguments are and what he's alleged to have done. I don't know the ins and outs. Pharaoh's called him out. People have called him to be scammers, whatever, and stuff. I don't really care. My thing is, people need the truth. And when the truth is there, deal with it. There are some people that will say, everything the white man say is untrue. And if it comes from a white person's mouth, about anything, it's untrue. And I don't get that. Because at the same time, that's the first people, and they go and say, save me, help, help, help. You know what I mean? And it comes down to what it is. And these are the same people who will push to you that they don't like white people. White people are the devil. White people are Neanderthal. I mean, I find it sickening. I spent some time, some years back, studying, nothing to do with conventional university study, but studying people from my own collation. Should have been just, I should have been on the game, like I used to do, just getting gal and, getting my pleasures. But I thought, there's more to me than just getting the pleasures, especially when it can come back to bite you and you're the guilty person and you, what I do? And what I do, apart from pleasure you, you know what I mean? I didn't know there was a double weapon in it, and I was roped in, and my jokes might not have been that funny in the first place. You know what I mean? You just got me to where you, and then you can turn around and say, he the bad guy. And society says, I'm the bad guy. Anyway, I started to think, and I think it was post 9/11. And I was introduced to people like Alex Jones, and I listened to them. I didn't even know anything about left politics and right politics and who said what. I mean, I'd listened to Alex Jones, and he was pretty much right-wing. But I'd also listened to Amy Goodman, who was pretty much left-wing. And I just kept listening to, good stuff, what I thought was good stuff. Anything that was whatever, I'd reject it. What's that got to do with what happened? I realised that with all the big subjects that were taking place that will reshape our minds, if I listened to conscious people, it was like, here's the big table, geopolitics, what's going on. and here's a little baby table, and all the scholars were talking about white people, white people, white people, white supremacy. It was like the little baby table. Are you not going to talk about the big issues? Is it only for white people to talk about this and have pot shots and have analysis? And all you're going to talk about is, no, we've got to talk about this. And then I said to myself, you must be controlled. And then I got privy to listening to some American, just by virtue of listening to Alex Jones and some people that called in and they will say they got a website or they've got their own podcast coming on. I tuned into the podcast and I realised, shit, this guy's a Klansman. This guy's an old uber racist. He hates black people. And I'd tune into their show. And I'd listen to their conversations. At the same time, I'd listen to what the government has got these jigaboo black people as conscious saying. And I'm telling you straight up, bro, it's a game. Because they're both playing the same thing, saying the same thing about each other. Then I realised, whoa. I listened to this, and I listened to that. And I'm like, damn, this is somebody teaching them both. They're both saying the same thing. It's low frequency warfare. Both of them doing it. Both saying the same thing. You could argue both have a point, if you will, and both of them are wrong badly, and both of them are coming from the same script. Somebody's got these guys, these losers, pushing that black people are low level, stupid, can't do nothing, blah blah blah, no good, ray. Drawers of water, skewers of wood, rubbish, can't control themselves, lust after white women, can't govern themselves, all the rhetoric. Every despicable thing about black people was said on these shows, right? And they would talk about their organisations, and I'd listen to it. I thought it was funny and very interesting, because there were some people that you might hear in their crew that probably wasn't uber. I mean, the trick with these government organisations, when people ring in, you're accepted by the group who organise it if you show uber hatred. But if a white guy was to phone in and he would agree with some of what they say, but wouldn't go all the way. You know what I mean? And it's the same with the black, especially in England. They are what is it? Neanderthals. They came out of caves. Savages. And I did, both of them calling. I said, you both think you both want to be the chosen people. You know what I mean? You're fighting for chosen people status. And the real people who call themselves the master race, the Ashkenazis, the chosen people, is the same word, just, same point. The master race, chosen people, Ashkenazi. They're playing the both of them. And they're so stupid. And I was like, well, how could you be so... And I'm like, they're not stupid. These are the dropouts of your schools. These are the people that can't earn money, who go begging for the government to give them something. What's that got to do with Polight and so forth? I just think the whole conscious community and all of those kind of stuff, and much of the white nationalist agenda, I think they're all compromised, and I think they're all COINTEL anyway. You can go to the very top, right? In England, you've got that guy, Tommy Robinson. I think he started off with a legitimate gripe. I don't think his legitimate gripe was legitimate. But I think at some point he's been compromised because he's been espousing some pro-Jewish bullshit. It's easy to do when the Muslims are too stupid to realise what's going on. And it's a replay, rewind, to 1491, where there are Muslims, Christians, and the Pharisees in Elizabeth and Ferdinand's country, and they couldn't fathom out Wagwan. It's easy once you know, but they didn't have the true religion. Whether you agree with it or not, they were Roman Catholicized. They should have known, but they didn't know. So they kicked both of them out, 1491. I don't think the Muslims were actually harming. We know they weren't, because they actually built the first universities, Andalusia, and they improved Europe. If it wasn't for Europe, there would be no Oxford, no Cambridge, and that's through the hands of the Moors and the Muslim connection. So it's not as if, to the sword, to the sword, to the sword, or else. No. Surah 109, me to my religion, you to your own. There is no compulsion unto faith. Anybody else who steps out of that surah is not a Muslim, okay? And I've given you the explanations of the ideology of faith and the destination of faith. And there are many ways, my view is there are many ways to get there. Well, not many ways, there are several, a couple of ways you can get there. And I don't think God cares whether, Creator doesn't really much care. Just be there. Get in the trench and know what the direction you point your gun to. That's it. So, yeah. So, I think I've lost my train of thought, but let me just stick on to this point, because I'm talking about the conversation that took place with Saanetter, who's a shit host. I'm going to say it now. He's crap, right? Or, just ain't got it up here. Jabari, Garfield, some guy named Divine, whatever, and Ankh. He's part of the not Dagger Squad, whatever, right? And Polight. So Polight says what he says, and he leaves. He's going to do a show later on that day, 8 o'clock, about the 5G possible connection. He did not at any time say 5G, and we all say it, I say it. 5G is not the reason coronavirus is here. I'm not saying, well, you see my videos, you know that, right? But what I will say, it has frequencies that will compromise your body. The reason why I would definitely say that is because whatever G we got now, 3 or 4G, has affected my body. And we've had those radio scans when you can see what happens with anybody at any length of time who's been using a mobile phone. I had a girlfriend some years back, and she couldn't make phone calls on her mobile phone. This is way before 4G was introduced. I think, what did we have? The originals. It might have been. Around about that time, and she had to get one of those ones you plug in and put in her ear. I said it, I carried it in my back pocket, got a lump underneath my ass. You know what I mean? Where the cheek meets the leg, there's a little small bump there, little lump. And so I knew this thing. And I've watched videos, and I know it's neurotoxin as well. Oh, well, what do I know? You'll find out, do your research. So he made it clear he was going to make a presentation, and he does that. But when he's come off the line, Jabari's chatting his government spiel, and the Divine guy was basically referring to a paper that's published in, the review of the paper was published in the New York Times about 5G not being that bad. Then Divine comes in and he speaks and shows us, which I've got, a paper that criticised the New York Times paper, saying it wasn't scholarly and etc. And he was basically saying, well, if, you know, I'm not quite sure, because he was basically saying he hopes Polight introduces that and don't be so positive that there is a connection, which I'm going to say, as much as I could disagree with him, Polight never said none of that. So it's obvious when the show comes up, the time comes up, I tap in and I go for the show. Because it happened now. And I'm like, oh, this is 13 hours ago or 10 hours ago. So the 8 o'clock show that Polight was going to present about the 5G possible connection is done. So I've got it. I've watched it. And I must admit, he done very well. It was a very good presentation. But first, he offered these guys, Jabari, Unk, and Garfield, participate with me. Let's work together, because obviously you know all about this. So let's agree as we go along. I'm going to describe what a virus cell is, a virus, a bacteria, and so forth. You know what I mean? Jabari, who had so much mouth, which is true. All of us are, I'm still getting over my supposedly corona. So he ain't gonna do it. But I'll listen to you later, which didn't have no I'll listen to you later and I'll comment after the fact. And Garfield backed out and he says, well, look, I'm going to listen to you later. Because my guy was saying, I want you guys. He was saying like me, before I even start. Them boy, they best give me right now, I'm loaded. Come up and give me a response. Now, say you're sorry about what you said. Remember when you was going on like what I'm saying is pseudo and all that? Now it's the 8 o'clock and I'm doing my show. Say you're sorry. And I won't go in on you. And make you look stupid. Say you're sorry. So, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I am pretty much like that. So, I would say Polight, he got really pissed off, but, you'd have to watch the video yourself, right? And rightly so. But he didn't go in on him. He didn't really have to. What he demonstrated was that he knew the necessary biology. So he would draw a cell and the nuclei and the nucleus. Then, of course, his breakdown of the lung capacity and the areolae. The drawing ain't all that, right? But that's not the point. He knew what connected to what. And he also knew the repercussions of what happens here. Because what you need to know is Darwin thought the cell was nothing. But when you read Darwin's Black Box by Professor Behe, Michael Behe, and he talks about the flagellum, you'll know under that microscope, what looks like nothing is like, whoa, an entire world of technologies, like a life inside a life. There's factories going on. There's people repairing. There's soldiers being marshaled. There's attacking. There's, free radicals being sent to the front. There's a whole battlefield and a whole factory and a whole reproduction system inside a skin cell. You do not know what you're talking about quite often. Okay? It's huge. It is fascinating. What I did like about, just to jump, I thought the presentation started off slow, and I think that's because he was annoyed. He was taken out of his stride at first. So it took a while to get into his flow. And it's one of those things, I went to a teacher's fair once, And believe it or not, because I was into what I was into, because I was deciding whether I'd be a biology teacher. You know what I mean? And I said, I'll draw a heart for you and I'll, whatever. At the time, I could actually draw a heart and actually, well, any organism, and break it down. Show you what's what, the parts and what happens here, what's going there, and da da da. That's all in the process of whatever. So he started off a bit rough, you know what I mean? He was blood up, angry. And I would have been as well, because, come on, man. And then you got to make a decision, should I go in or not? But if you go in, your time was 8 o'clock presentation. So your blood you're already kind of out of sync. So he had to gather himself. But I think when he got, generally got to explaining his argument why it shouldn't be dismissed, that 5G has an implication on the human body. I know this anyway. But a lot of people don't, and the government wants to say no. And Jabari is like saying, nothing got to do with it. And what cracks me up, he takes an article from the New York Times. You're supposed to be conscious, African American conscious. And there's no question. That son of a bitch has not even mentioned who wrote it or what they've written in the past. He doesn't know who they vote for. He knows nothing about the person. But he's willing to go with an article from the New York Times. And he's very articulate and he's somewhat academic. And I'm like, yo, it's easy to con these people. Just have good rhetoric. Marcus Garvey did it years ago. I'm not surprised. I'm like, shit, that's the place you're supposed to know, 101. But it's never going to be within that place. It will always be from upward outside. It's always going to be somebody outside sees the situation. That's why Marcus Garvey did it. Farrakhan's not a natural born American. I think he's Trini. I'm English. It is what it is, but I got love for those people. More love than they got for themselves, because I actually accept the history for what it is. It's brutal as what it is. But I read into it. And I can give a great narrative. I was going to do it today. My conversation today was going to be about CRT and how Barron Allen will win. I had to put it back. I had to put it back because it's topical, the 5G. It's also topical about the coronavirus hoax, COVID-19 pandemic and all the rest of it. And I'm sad that I nearly got to do it. I was on the verge of doing this show. Even though, if I said critical race theory, probably nobody would listen. They were like, what the fuck is that? What's CRT? Don't know. And I was going to go in... never mind. I didn't, right? You'll get that later. So the point was, he does his presentation. And I'm glued to it. And I'm saying to myself, let me hear him. Because there's a lot of people... He's done some bad... He said some bad things. He's done some bad things. Where's the redemption? Why is he still talking? Is he... I don't want to say too much. Because when I do my COINTEL video, I think you'd have to look at it for yourself. And then you have to evaluate who you might think might be COINTEL in deep and how valuable they may be to your community. And if they're valuable, for what length of time are they going to be valuable? And if they are COINTEL, you know what I mean? It's like that. You could be walking around and there's loads of you women there sleeping with COINTEL and you haven't got a clue. There's not so much men, but there's loads of women sleeping with COINTEL. Ooh, in England. enough of them get turned out by common tell, right? I can go into that, and I'll go into the male-female dynamic, which is going to blow your mind. It might make you cry as well, because I feel like crying about something that's transpired and put us in a situation whereby our women don't understand